So what the heck is going on, man? Like Jerome Powell, the Fed, the stock market. I can't. What the heck is going on, Michael?
Wow. So, we've been talking all week about Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole. It just finished. I listened to the whole thing, started at 7 a.m. Pacific, finished just before 7:30. And if you look at the stock market, last time I checked the stock market, the Dow's up 700 points, crypto's up, Bitcoin's up $3,000. Bond yields went down like 8 basis points. We're almost at 4.25. So basically kind of at the highest level, Powell has opened the door for a September rate cut pretty wide. How do you know? Before the meeting, the odds of a September rate cut were falling, right? They started a week ago or so at 100%, and they got as low as 72. By the end of his presentation, the odds of a September rate cut were 91%. So he opened the door. The other thing I saw him do was clearly put the job market as priority number one. I believe heading into this meeting, most experts, economists like myself, thought Powell was most fixated on inflation, stable prices, tariffs, all that stuff. What I heard him say, and it'll be interesting because, again, it just happened. I have had zero time to read other opinions. What I saw him do is say, this job market is weaker than we think. The data, frankly, is not reliable. The fact that we went from 250,000 jobs to 35,000 jobs given a revision, not good. He was still, as he should be, saying that we haven't taken our eye off inflation. Inflation could still be bad. He was saying all the right words, but what I saw him do today is he put jobs over inflation, which for Powell, I believe, is a net change. Hence the big, update. The other thing that I'm left thinking about, because before the press conference, the only way we were going to get a rate cut is if the September revisions are horrible. And this is what happened last year, right? Last year we had 818,000 jobs disappear. Yep. And that necessitated a 50 basis point cut. I am curious, if he's got a wink, wink, and a nod, that's going to happen again. I really think he did, because I don't think he wants to, because he could have gone into this meeting, standard Powell, tariff, inflation, blah, 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 and then get caught wrong-footed in a week. Because in roughly a week, maybe it's 10 days, we're going to get the August jobs data and the revision, and it could be ugly. I mean, there are some reports out there that they think this year's revisions will be bigger than last year's. And last year's were massive, 818. There are some people forecasting 1 million jobs will disappear. So again, you'll never know for sure. Maybe in his autobiography, he'll talk about this session, because I do think this Jackson Hole speech was important. It's probably the most important one he had, because we are at that inflection point. And again, to summarize it for the average person, he opened the door to September cuts.
Well, there you go, folks. We started off. We're coming out hot. This is the Friday financial wrap-up with Mr. Michael Zuber. This is for August the 22nd, 2025. Anything else on Powell's speech that you want to comment before we transition to Arthur Burns?
Just to say that, again, as I was going into this speech, I was torn. Is he going to come out and just rug pull the market, basically shut the door? And clearly he didn't. He went the other way. And in fact, I'll even go this far. I did not think Powell would open the door this large. And that's why I think he may have gotten a wink, wink, and a nod of what's coming. Because the only way you do this is if you really think the jobs market is falling apart. And, we'll know in 10 days.
Well, one thing too that I just want to remind the viewers, people that have been with you, with our channel, with your channel for a long time, you've always said jobs over inflation, more important. And you put a big emphasis last year on we've got to watch the jobs number. You've been calling that. And so to hear Jerome Powell today, obviously this adjustment, all really good news. Let's keep going. Let's talk about Arthur Burns. Now, for a lot of people, they think Arthur Burns is Homer Simpson's boss.
Oh,
Mr. Burns on, I'm just joking, right? But a lot of people are like, who is Arthur Burns? Why is he significant today?
Arthur Burns was the Fed president in the late 70s that was replaced by Paul Volcker. And, for those that study history, economic trends, and like myself, he's generally seen as the worst Fed president on record. That's the general opinion of people in the know. And the reason he's seen as that is, I don't know how else to say it. He basically relented to Richard Nixon, president at the time, and cut rates too soon, didn't kill inflation, which caused what's often called the double dip recession. Mm-hmm. And the second one was nasty. It was the worst recession before the GFC, lasted a long time. And, there was, my belief going into this is the number one thing, if you gave Powell a true serum, is he doesn't want to be Arthur Burns.
Right.
And that's why, again, I go back to the fact that I think he got a whisper of the job adjustment coming in about 10 days because he doesn't want to be Arthur Burns. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be, number one and number two. You much rather be closer to Paul Volcker. But, he opened the door today pretty wide.
Very interesting. So, again, Paul Volcker, right, had to really make some tough decisions. Arthur Burns was known as the guy, his legacy, right? Just the double dip. He really didn't manage and do his job right, basically. So let's talk about what are the odds for a September cut now. And I'll even throw it at you, 25 basis points, 50 basis points.
Yeah, so this is going to be really interesting. And I'm glad I made that pivot, when we got that horrible jobs adjustment. I went from being no cuts in 25 to a 50. And I'm staying with it. That's just who I am, right? I don't change every second to try to stick the landing. I don't think that's authentic. So the odds were as high as 100%, seemingly 10 days ago. They got as low as 72 and were trending down. This meeting happened. They're now 91 and probably would be higher by the end of the day, right? This is all in real time, right? The speech just finished 9 minutes ago or 11 minutes ago. My guess is September rate cut could go back to 100%. Now, how do we get a 50 over a 25? It is all about that jobs adjustment. That is the only economic number that matters between now and September 17th. It's the only number. Inflation doesn't matter. PCE doesn't matter. The next CPI reading doesn't matter. It's how big are those adjustments? If we lose 1 million jobs, you could get a 50. If you lose 750,000, you could get a 50. So where I sit today, if you were to ask me my opinion today, I think the odds of a 25 are higher than a 50, but I won't change my opinion. I called for a 50 2 weeks ago, and I'll stick with that. I'll call a 50.
You've been on it. You've been way ahead of everybody for a very long time. So it's glad to be riding with you. So September rate cut. Here we come. So let's talk about Lennar. I think there was some big news. We talked about Lennar last week. What did you see this week, and just your thoughts about Lennar, the home builder?
Yeah, so Lennar actually, shout out Lance Lambert from Resi Club for putting this out there. Lennar has now started to reach out to investors. They actually created a website, and I actually registered. I actually have a call with a sales agent later today about buying brand new construction. They're basically created some sites and some houses that are already done. They have more finished product than they've had in the last 5 or 6 years. And there's a couple of communities in and around me that have 2 or 3 homes. And, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but they're already talking about, financing the transaction, these different things. So my intention from this is to see how motivated Lennar is. And I'm going to go to them with something between 10 and 15% off of list price. I'm going to ask for the moon. I'm going to ask for 30-year fixed 3.99. And I'm going to ask for 2 to 3 months, of rent credits. And in exchange for that, I will buy a lot of inventory, right? I'll go buy, 3 homes. So again, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but I just think this is a sign that Lennar is open to the idea. And if people don't remember, I'm sitting in a Lennar home that I successfully purchased, got, over a 6-figure discount. I got a lot premium of $0, which in Vegas is massive, right? Because I have a view lot. I charge $0 for that. I got all the
lot.
I got all the upgrades for free. So I know Lennar a deal, right? Lennar in their last quarterly earnings, their average cost was 15%, meaning they took off the list price in credits.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. I'm just looking for a crazy deal, and I might buy 3 brand new Lennar homes as rentals. We'll see. I'll talk to the guy later today. So
very interesting times, right? So last week, Warren Buffett, right? We had talked about Uncle Warren taking
$800 million or something. Yeah, damn.
Yeah, big position in Lennar, and then of course, it makes sense if they're sitting on inventory. It makes sense. Let's clear this inventory out.
Yep.
Let's figure it out. Let's reset. Let's go into this next part of the year strong. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about Kevin O'Leary. For a few people who don't know who he is, who is he? What happened this week?
He's often called Mr. Wonderful, right? He's on Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary's, I believe he's from Canada, but he's another billionaire. But he came out 2 or 3 days ago saying the Fed's not going to cut in 2025, and it'll be interesting to see what he says now. But again, that's what he said, and it's like, yeah, I get it, right? Inflation's a problem, and all of that, and Powell hates Trump, and all of those things. But Kevin O'Leary, as of 2 days ago, right? So pre today, was in the camp of no cuts in 2025, which I think a lot of people were kind of in when they saw that PPI number, that services inflation. Right? Everybody talks tariffs, but again, I think Powell's meeting today was basically like, you know what? Job market's number one. And I've always believed that. I always thought jobs over inflation. So I think Powell now clearly articulated it's jobs over inflation.
Makes perfect sense. So coming back to our show notes on the September cut, is there more that you think, more thoughts and direction as we go into, it's hard to believe we're almost at the end of August. Here, as we go into the fall season, just any other thoughts about, you have September cut in here in the notes, and I just curious there.
The reaction in the 10-year note this morning was interesting. It'll be interesting to see if that follows through, because when I checked it during the call, it was down, I think 9 basis points at one point. I think when I got here with you at 6. So it'll be interesting to see where mortgages fall with that, right? Because again, if you guys don't remember, last September they cut 50 and mortgage rates went up.
Right.
This time does feel different, right? I think they're going to see a cut because the economy is sputtering. And generally speaking, when that happens, mortgage rates fall. But here's the deal. Mortgage rates fall first. That's what everybody doesn't understand as an average consumer. It's like, oh, the Fed cut a quarter, mortgage rates got to fall a quarter. Well, no, they don't. And oh, by the way, one of the things the Fed does a great job of telling you what's coming. So mortgage rates will fall early. So I'll be watching mortgage. I think we kind of been bouncing around 6.5 to 6.6 30-year fixed mortgage business daily. It'll be really interesting to see if it breaks below 6.5.
Yeah.
Because that's been a pretty strong floor. So I would put money that we go below 6.5, but we'll see.
This could be the beginning of the trend toward sub 6, 599, which opens up the market, right?
And this is what I saw. Because again, the other thing a call I made weeks ago with Lance Lambert was September existing home sales will be higher than 24 and 25. And a lot of people called me crazy.
Yeah.
We go sub 6.5 now, it's going to be a layup.
So such an interesting time again. Great to be riding with you, brother. Let's talk about the Fed, just more Fed speak. And do you see, like, again, looking at the bond market, what's going on with the Fed, what maybe unpack a little bit more thoughts about the Fed here?
Yeah. So we had a lot of Fed speak in the last 48 hours. And to summarize the Fed speak before Powell, I would argue that there were probably 5 doves / cuts, right? People leaning that direction. and 10 or so saying no cut, inflation's a problem. We need more time. We need more data. I suspect, because I do believe the board is very loyal to Powell, that we're going to see a flip-flop in that. And we're going to see more and more of the Fed presidents that were in the we need more data camp to come out in the next 72 hours. So by Monday, and say, you know what? Powell's right. The job market. So that'll be what I'm watching for next week is how many of the people were kind of tariff are now jobs. That'll be very telling to me.
It's interesting. The whole tariff headline is definitely taking a back seat. It feels as though, there's still something going on. You still see a couple of, sub headlines here and there, but it just seems as though we're pretty clear where we're at as an economy. The economy, job market is soft. We know there's a little bit more certainty in the market, a little bit more stability. Would you agree with that, Michael, or is that?
I think there's a general understanding that the economy is not as good as we think it is.
Interesting. There you go. Very. We'll keep going. Let's talk about existing home sales.
Yeah. So existing home sales, again, I always celebrate when I get something right. This one I got wrong. I got this call wrong. The experts were calling for 4 million. I said, no, I think we're going to have 393, something lower than that. And it actually came in slightly better, 4.01. So just like I celebrate when I'm right, I'll take the L on this one. And what's interesting about that is that's actually up from last month. I think it's up like 2%. Also, for the doomers out there, we now have another record home price for July, right? There are doomers out there saying that, national home prices are going to fall 5, 9, 12% this year. You're running out of daylight, right? There's not that much time left, right? It's half the country's up, half the country's down. It's really hard to get a median home price to fall 5, 9% in 5 months. It's just not going to happen. It's time for them to revise their forecast and start talking doom 2026. So it's just comical how wrong they are and how consistently wrong they are. And but I was wrong too. Existing home sales ticked just over 4 million, and I thought it would be much closer to 3.9. So pretty interesting.
Do we finish out sub 4 million?
I'm not changing my call. That's one of the things I do a lot is just stick with my January call. I think we'll print below 4 million, but it's not really looking likely, but I don't see a reason to change.
Yeah. It definitely feels slower than it was last year, even considering all things considering. So very interesting. Let's talk about the event. Let's talk about the Vegas event, President's Day weekend, February 2026, the first 100 tickets. What happened?
So what I'm going to do for folks is, really following what Alex Hormozi kind of did over the weekend is just focus on giving value, right? So I've been very clear. I'm looking for my audience to step up and help me out. I've got $75,000 to $80,000 to put out in the next 70 days. My hope is I would sell 100 tickets, which is roughly half that, right? It just blunts the impact of writing that big check. And but I wasn't giving any value. I wasn't giving anything. I was just do me a favor. And thankfully, 80 some odd, 90 people did. But what I realized is I want to do something. So I'm going to give something of value at the event to the first 100 ticket purchasers. So, you need to buy today, worst case tomorrow, to likely get in the first 100. But you will be getting something, right? I have the list. I'll be able to track who's the first 100. And I want to give those people that did me a favor, right? You don't have to buy tickets today, right? You don't have to. I'm asking for a favor. So it makes total sense that I should do something for the people that do me a favor. So I will find a way to recognize and give value to the first 100 folks. And it'll be a surprise. But yeah, I will track that. And hopefully my audience knows by now that I'll do something. But yeah, you're going to come anyway. So, why not buy now, help me out, and you'll get something at the event.
Yeah, I love it. I think too that I've got some ideas for you. So
cool. We'll talk off air.
Like a product. Yeah, maybe like a product or something just for the, just something very special, a tool or product.
Something.
Yeah, there we go. I love it. So we're going to rev it up. Bonuses, folks. You go to Eventbrite. You look up one rental at a time. The tickets will sell out this year. We will not be.
Pace Morby, Jason Hartman. We got legends coming to this year.
You will. This will sell out. It will not be. Come January, we're still. Hey, by the way, we still got 30 tickets left or whatever. That will not happen this year. So you folks, buy your tickets early. Make your reservations. Michael, anything else that you want to just close out on, and just thoughts as we're closing out August?
I guess the last thing to talk about is just how happy I am with our school community, right? The school community is knocking on the door of 500. I think it was 460 something when I checked this morning. And I just want to thank everybody who's in there, because again, I'm not nearly the most active person. We got very consistent contributors. We got people introducing themselves. People are getting big, warm hugs. And, I think the forums are amazing. People are asking questions and getting 20, 30 responses. Then there's all the free education at different levels. There's 8 accountability groups. We have legends like Cody Davis doing Gen Z plus. We got Ladies of ORAT. We got Out of State. We got Multifamily. We got Brokers, and much, much more. We are, as my hat says, everyday wealth builders.
Yep.
When I was growing up, the book that made the most difference to me at the beginning was Millionaire Next Door, because that showed me, as a teenage boy who was broke as a joke, that becoming a millionaire was possible, right? Policemen, teachers, all of that. And, what I'm working on and playing with constantly is how can we get the everyday person, next door, if you will, to realize they can all be wealth builders. And I think the school community is full of nearly 500 everyday wealth builders. And when you get that kind of positive energy and momentum, it just helps, right? It's building wealth is slow, but if you're around the right people, it just feels better. You get support. You can help others, right? You may not be making a big move this year because you're saving for a down payment, but you know what? You can get engaged and help others. You can share your story and your experience. So I'm thrilled with the community. I look forward to the day we get over 500, which could be this month, maybe next month, because I promised at 400, which was like 3 weeks ago, that I would add my $99 course as more goodies, right? Get your money right. And there's a lot of great stuff in there. So I look forward to getting over 500. And, if you want to join and be, help us get to those final 40 people, I'll just keep adding value. So yeah, it's fun.
I love it. Folks, get involved with School, SKOOL, School. You're going to look up One Rental at a Time. It's the best $20 you'll spend this weekend. It's the best $20 you'll ever invest in yourself. It's $20 a month. Try it on for 30 days. If you don't like it, no big deal. You come and go. It's all month to month. So, Michael, thank you for all that you do. Have a great weekend. I look forward to. I think you're going on a trip. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna go a little somewhere good, but yeah, people will see my
daily
video.
news, right? You'll still be doing daily news.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
That doesn't stop.
I love it, Michael. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, buddy.